thought I had a low spot and this confirms it, but that should be pretty easy to fix there. Overall though, it's just right there, and then it should flow very well from what I did. So that looks pretty darn good, considering I was just eyeballing it. Seems to flow right through there, and it's kind of moving just how I wanted it, so I'm pleased there. I'll have to shape all of this and take out some material on the inside of this turn here so that the water has a low spot here to follow, and then that should be good. This will take a lot of time here, just making it look nice, and then taking out material here so that the water continues to do this. But I just don't want it to only have a couple inches of wiggle room. I want it to be more of a gentle swale. I've been having to dig out this trench by hand as it fills up with mud periodically, but I mean, it's doing pretty good, but it's just not a long-term solution. But it's doing its job going down there. But I just want to make that low spot a couple feet wide and then feather it up. I've got some more tree work. You can see up there that tree snapped off in a storm and fell, and then snapped again and fell there, and now it's leaning up against that tree, and so I'll have to somehow push and yank that one out of there, hopefully not taking out that tree there too much, and hopefully not hitting the well. But yeah, so we decided to change the lawn size. So I don't know if you can see that head there, and then there's one further on. That's going to be the new backside of the lawn, and it's going to curve and meet up with that sprinkler head and be rounded off there. And all of this is going to be more landscape beds. There's a few reasons for that, but this is like prime south facing real estate right here. All of this is facing south, so it's going to get the best full sun for a lot of various flowering trees and different things. And so and we just really have big plans on all the different kind of trees and stuff we want. And the other factor was, like, our porch is facing right here, so we kind of have like a natural view corridor kind of right here, and with how this is kind of encroached upon by mature tree limbs, we really wouldn't be able to get much landscape trees kind of here. So by extending that out, we'll be able to make it have a nicer view from the porch and from the windows looking out of flowering trees and different kind of landscaping that we do. That was a little bit of a low spot, or I guess a high spot there, and so I took the skid steer in there and dug that out, and so temporarily it's more of a little pool there, but that should fill in with debris and sediment and then level back out and keep moving. But I'm still seeing a lot of moisture and water come kind of rushing through here. I'm kind of thinking there's not much I can do about that. I think that's just all my land's square footage just going there and then going down, and so it's kind of doing what it needs to do. I don't know really much of what I can do. Some of the low spots you see there, that's because I was in there with the skid steer, and over time that'll level back out as mud settles in there and hardens. I kind of need to get back there to see how that dam is doing. Let me see if I can get back there without sinking into the mud. These are all of our privacy trees, and we're gonna amend this slightly, and I'm gonna put in some magnolias strategically. But nice, this is moving pretty good. All right, look at that. That's awesome. This is moving much better. I had the skid steer in here and scooped out all of that fibrous root structure. This used to be a man-made dam here, and I don't know really why. I wonder if maybe this was used for like cattle at some point in time, or I don't know why. I don't know what it was for. Maybe it was a moonshine distillery. I have no idea, but it was a man-made dam here, and it must have been there for 15-20 years, because these roots just formed a dense mat, and they still are back here. Like everywhere you see those leaves, that's actually this dense root mat that over 20 years got built up from this dam, where it was just water and then everything just kind of grew into it. So I ripped it out here, and now it's moving really good. Very pleased with that. I wanted to kind of dig out a little bit further up in the trench, but I needed an excavator for that. I couldn't do that with the skid steer. This is my only point of entry really, and I actually did get stuck here in that hole there when I was doing it, and I had to use the bucket to inch my way back out. But yeah, this is moving definitely sufficiently. Again, I'm having some low spots here from the skid steer, and what I might do is hand dig a small trench kind of at a catty angle there, so that if there is any of my yard water coming through here, it'll just go in this direction instead of continuing. And I probably will actually do the same thing here, and then maybe one more time up there, just to kind of encourage the water to get out of this area and keep moving. But I'm getting the big stuff done now, which is good. Now I can start fine-tuning with that little stuff. Yeah, this is moving pretty good. Looks like there's another little potential dam up there. That's one I'll have to resolve by hand though, but it's definitely not hurting anything because the berm is so high up on either side. That's not actually stopping any movement, but I still could help clear it a little bit by hand. That's some extra road fabric I had when I did the driveway, and we ended up not using it, and so we're gonna use that as the weed barrier for this massive landscape bed. And I think that's 250 feet by 12 feet. So that's really going to come in handy for this. Make it real easy to just roll it out. So that's pretty good. Got some raised flower beds getting put together and installed. Eventually it'll be a nice kind of garden here. And then behind it, back here in this corner, kind of catty corner, is going to be a medium-sized garden shed for the lawnmower and various gardening chemicals and tools and whatnot. And then let's check out this berm, see how it's doing. It's doing pretty darn good. If I have to say so myself, I'm very pleased with that distribution of water. Especially considering this was just me doing it by eye. I still could touch up some of this up here, but that's stuff I can do by hand. I didn't want to try to do it with the machine and really just set myself back, especially since it's not dried out. But let's see if I can get over on the other side of this and without slipping anyways. So yeah, we've played around with a couple more subtle solutions on this end, but they haven't been satisfactory, and they've been more temporary solutions, and I haven't been happy. So I just went ahead and did a bigger berm, and it might look like I took out a lot of material, but really all I did was kind of scoop out a little bit and then dump it up there. So most of the material from here was just put on the berm and created the berm width. You won't see it right now, but when we have heavy rains, all the properties back here, they start flooding over the grass here, and they start pouring in water through here, through up there, maybe even a little bit right there. So this berm seems like overkill probably if you're looking at it just with this small rain. But when we have a few rains back to back, and they're heavy rains, it actually floods the whole ditch back there, and it actually sometimes encroaches up and over because it's so flooded back there. So this is necessary for those rare, really heavy rains back to back to back. It's not going to be perfect, and I'll have to kind of monitor these and come out and stamp them and maintain them until they kind of solidify. You're seeing a little bit of deterioration from this side anyways. The other side I was able to really pack it in and back drag with the skid steer, so the back side's pretty firm and compacted, but this front edge I really didn't have a method to compact that easily. So but yeah, this is looking really good. I'm very happy. This is holding up pretty good, and this light rain is actually pretty good just to help solidify this berm before any real serious rains come. But overall, I think this should finally solve that problem. But again, I have a low spot there from where it used to run through. That's exactly where the water would run before. So what I'll probably do again is just try to grade it some more to capture any of that runoff and maybe even direct it back. I don't know. I'll have to think through that. Capture that and help it run off this way instead of taking the long road that way and absorbing into the ground and keeping it muddy back there, which I'm trying to avoid. But this was the first step, so that's very good. Happy with that. But let's see if I can get out of here. A lot of the dirt I was digging up was actually from that other drainage grading that I did on the other side over by the driveway, the concrete pad. And I was able to, I mean, I could fill all dirt that I'll ever need to move on this property. I can just drop right here and it won't hurt anything, and it'll just keep helping ease that pad down. So the grass is waking up from its dormancy. I do have some common Bermuda infestation that I didn't know was common Bermuda last year. If I had known, I could have really nipped it in the bud. But these long ones, that's the common Bermuda. It's everywhere, you can see. And then it's mixed in with the zoysia. And I did spray it with something, Fusilade, which kills the common Bermuda but doesn't kill zoysia. So I have the chemical to help battle it, but it's just going to take a long time to carefully get rid of it. But yeah, there's that knoll that I'm slowly building out and easing out. But yeah, all that dirt that I took over there, I just dumped right there and spread. I still have to flatten and shape these beds here. Over there. Lots more little stuff. A big gully over on my other property line over there through the trees. But overall, I'm actually pretty pleased with the results from this rain. I think this is plenty good. Just gotta fill in that low spot there and maybe direct it further away from the house. I couldn't with the skid steer. It's hard to explain, but because I could only come in at one angle, whatever elevation angle it was at was all the bucket could go. I didn't have a bucket that could tilt left and right, so I'll probably have to do a lot of that by hand just to change the low spot from, you know, that edge. So by hand, just dig out further away and then plop the dirt over here and move that low spot a couple feet out, probably right in the dead middle is where I'd want that low spot to be ideally, because I do plan on having retaining blocks all through here. So I don't want the water to run underneath the retaining blocks, because that'll weaken them and they'll tip over. They'll shift and move around. So I'm gonna have to do it by hand the rest of the way, right down the middle, leaving about 2 feet this way, 2 feet that way, and let the water get out of there that way. But that won't be too bad. Okay. All right.